When you look at where online games are heading, you see a very clear trend. The more moderation tools, more terms of service, more automated detection, and more layers of protection against toxicity. It feels like every year game studios introduce new systems to shape, monitor, and sanitize how players interact with each other. A great illustration of these tensions I remember show up recently in Marathon Beta. The developers openly debated removing proximity chat entirely because of toxicity concerns. And meanwhile, the counterpart, our creators lean into the proximity chat, and embrace the chaos that emergent social layer arguably become the I think the only reason the game puffed up because such a contrast for today's all the detection and protection against toxicity.
Yeah, he was one of the other squad.
Play that flute.
Fucking.
Can you all stand here and I throw a grenade?
This is cool, man.
What the fuck?
Best concert of my life.
So two similar games, same risks, but completely different philosophies. So it raises a bigger question. Why are we trying so hard to control human interaction in games? And are we sure that the systems we are building actually improve things? Because if you go back to the very beginning of online multiplayer, I will talk for myself, early 2000s, you will assume the toxicity will have been absolute worst because back then we have minimal moderation, no automated or AI tools to detect, no player reporting or no shadow bans. Yet my lived experience from that era feels so much less toxic and dramatically more social than average online multiplayer game today. I was born in the early 90s. When my family first got internet, it opened this universe where I met people I still remember and I made friends I still talk to from that era. And somehow in last 5 years, even though I interacted exponentially, more people, millions more people, I barely remember anyone. We shared 30 minutes, an hour, and they're gone. They were disposable social encounters for me. Ironically, the most memorable moments came from that last 5 years, from that people being toxic towards me. We have far more tools to fight toxicity, yet spaces feel more toxic, not less. So what changed? To answer that, we need to talk about a game that from my childhood that builds and that the game was so much social, an entire social fabric in one concept, reputation. My strongest online memories come from vanilla World of Warcraft, the era where leveling 60 wasn't a sprint. It was long, difficult, and actually you learn your class and what you're doing in the game. And because it was meaningful, your reputation, therefore your identity mattered. As a 14-year-old mage, solo leveling was constant struggle for me because I was bad too and I was 14. So naturally, I relied on other players that I will ask for general help in the general chat for help. I will go in the general chat, hey, I need help on this quest. Anyone can help me. And because I realized later, because I was mage, I could open portals. I had something valuable to offer back to the players that are helping me. So every class has unique social utility in the vanilla World of Warcraft. The game didn't just allow collaboration, but the classes design it was engineered it. So because I was opening portals across continental people to go through, so they will come like high level player will come and just one shot couple MPs things for me, and I was like, hey, can you open a portal? And I gladly do so. So once you reach max level, the in World of Warcraft, the vanilla World of Warcraft, the social systems intensified. The raids and high level dungeons weren't automated. There was no matchmaking queue where you press a button and get teleport to a group. You build groups manually. First, you start with the friends, you ask your friends, then guildmates, than people you met while leveling that helped you or you helped them. And rest through the general chat. I was always leading the raids, try to be like organized people. I will write looking for 2 DPS, 2 healers, PM. This process took time, and because it took time, you remembered people while you manually arranging the group. And also in the raid, how they played, how they behaved, and who you could trust. I even have a handwritten blacklist of ninja looters and rude players. And also this go both ways. One time I vividly remember I was so mad because we couldn't pass the first boss in Molten Core. For me, it was a very easy boss, but we couldn't get up. We couldn't do the mechanic. So I said, okay, I'm just leaving the group. And I left the group. And I remember next week I tried to look another raid, and that organizer of the raid, again, looking for DPS player, I remember that guy, and I think he remembered me and didn't give me the invite. So there was no algorithm that punished me, no enforcement team or no automated system stepped in. The community itself, the police itself, because my identity was persistent, visible, and I could not abandon that identity. It feels like childhood games where you play tag, hide and seek, or Marco Polo. So if someone's opening their eyes in Marco Polo after couple time, you don't need an adult to enforce the rules. You just stop playing with them. That's simple. And one of my favorite books that Homo Ludens, Johan Huizinga, wrote in the book, In Play, We Practice Life. And early games, online games, prove that these spaces were miniature societies where we practice cooperation, conflict negotiation, forgiveness, and belonging to a group. And that's only possible when you have a reputation, online reputation, virtual reputation, when your actions persist long enough for other players to remember you. If people refuse to group with you in a huge multiplayer game, imagine interacting with people in multiplayer games. Yeah, I know, it's kind of crazy. You are socially isolated when you damage your reputation. And no one will invite you to groups, no one will group up with you. And because creating a new character took a real effort, you couldn't just throw the character away and start a new one. Now, let's go back to Arc Raiders. And in my opinion, is a social game of the year. I'm level 40 with 43 hours played so far, and I haven't encountered what I classify as real toxicity. People swore, people trash talk, but no slurs, no hate speech, none of that truly damaging stuff. Why this happening? And when I think about it, because in Arc Raiders, you need other players. You need to cooperate. When you rely on other people, you're naturally less likely to behave in socially destructive ways. That the incentives keeps you aligned. And betrayal, when people like betray the corporation, it's meaningful. So one guy betrayed me when we trying to hunt Rocketeers. I needed the core to upgrade my stations, or was a quest, I don't remember, that we killed the Rocketeer and we got to reshare the loot. And I don't think he got enough. So therefore, at the extraction, he shot me and get my cores. So, but 2 days later, I saw the same guy popped up in the voice chat, same name, and I remembered him. And hey, you wanna do something, like you need help? Yeah, I said he needs help to kill a leaper this time. So I hunt a leaper with him, actually a couple of them. And at the extraction, I shot him and I get his leaper. Before when they crawling, I opened microphone and I said, do you remember 2 days ago when we hunting Rocketeer and you killed me? You reap what you sow. And he said to me, bro, you are cringe. Our creators accidentally create something like MMOs actually needed today, that social reputation. Because in Arc Raiders, my identity persists and my consequences, other people's consequences, carry forward, and community can remember. And please, Embark, do not enable frequent name changes. Right now, I think the game hinges on social memory to make entire system work. Reputation, and I think what transform Arc Raiders from others. Also, is extraction shooter, I feel so much more social. Reputation isn't just important in social MMOs or extraction shooters, it's like critical in competitive games where players operate under stress, adrenaline, and there's high stakes. So a few months ago, I uninstalled Valorant, which is funny because this channel started as a Valorant coaching channel, but I was reviewing a VOD from a Platinum Jet player, and he was relentlessly toxic to his teammates. And at this point, I want to give a little bit definition to what is toxicity from me. Toxicity is that I learned from when I was playing basketball in high school, and my coach told me that there's a line when you trash talk. If you talk about only performance, you're allowed to say whatever you want. You can say you are shit due to enemy team, or you're how do you even make the team? The coach sub him out. So I said all of the things. But when you say something that not performance related, like, oh, why you're so ugly, or the go back to where you came from, whatever, that becomes harassment. And if you also use performance metrics to communicate with your teammates, you say your teammate, hey, teammate, you suck. I think that's also toxicity, because most likely these people you kind of trash talk to your teammate, they're going to perform bad, and you will suffer as an entire group that from your actions. And your winning chance will be lower if you trash talk to your teammate. But trash talk to enemy team, I think it's okay. So I was reviewing a VOD, and he was relentlessly toxic to his teammates. He was saying the Sova, you suck, and directly sabotaging his team. So mid-match, everyone muted him. He rage quit the match because no one interacting with him, and VOD was over. Then there was an awkward silence. Then he says, I have another VOD on my Smurf. I just played after this game. So as a coach, I didn't know what to say at this moment. But I just asked this. If you watch it again, let's say they meet you again, what's going to happen in your Smurf? And he said, oh, I have a lot of Smurfs. I make once every month. And that's where all this World of Warcraft memories come back to me. Because in World of Warcraft, you're starting a new character or Smurf. You need 50 to 60 hours friction before you were viable. You go to the end game, basically. It wasn't something you did lightly. Because you didn't do something lightly, the character, your identity mattered. And in Valorant, your identity disposable, new account, new personality, no friction. Therefore, there's no accountability to your actions. Imagine if creating a Smurf in Valorant required, like, let's say 50 hours before you can unlock ranked. Most people will stick to their mains. And if you can't hide behind name changes, alt accounts, and you actually suddenly care about your reputation. That reminds me of in 2018, I was interviewing Counter-Strike professionals for a research paper. And one Australian professional Counter-Strike player said this. I can still remember it because it impacted me a lot. He said, at the top, we all know each other. We know the names, we know the tendencies, the styles, and if we need to, which buttons to push to gain a competitive and psychological advantage. That stuck with me a lot, because when I compare to this to high-level Valorant I experienced last year, for example, in one act of playing Valorant in high lobbies, Radiant Immortal lobbies, I didn't remember anyone. I don't remember anyone. No names, no patterns, no psychological layer. And at the top, where the mechanical skills are nearly equal, the psychology is the half of the game. But when player can hide their names, switch accounts, and constantly reset that identity, that entire psychological dimension evaporates. And the games only becomes mechanical, isolation, and the social world collapses and reputation becomes impossible. And when reputation becomes impossible, I think that's when toxicity thrives. Not because people are inherently worse or get worse, but because the design no longer gives them any reason to care. And when you zoom out from all these examples, World of Warcraft, Arc Raiders, Valorant, Counter-Strike, the pattern is obvious. The problem isn't that players become more toxic. The problem is that modern game design in online games has removed that social consequences that once kept toxicity in check. Early online games, when we look back very romantically, they were not magically amazing. people in that places, people yelled, people argued, people trolled. But the difference was that your reputation stuck. Your name meant something in that virtual spaces, and your identity traveled with you, and your reputation and your actions echoed in future interactions.